Okay, so straight off the bat, there's going to be some of you chuckling to yourselves when you read the title of this video. And yeah, I'm going to dabble with putting the clip-ons back on. It's a real tough call, actually, because I really like the way the bike is with the flat bars on it. But there's a couple of reasons. One is, following a couple of the handlebar videos, I'd had a few questions about installing clip-ons on these type of bikes, and have I got a how-to video, and I haven't. I don't really tend to do how-to videos because that would imply I know what I'm doing, but I'm more than prepared to do a video of the way I put clip-ons on a bike, and a few of the things that I've noticed that might help you if you're deciding to do this. The other reason is the clip-ons and the rear sets I've put on eBay. Like, I must have relisted them 4 times now, and I've had best offers that aren't quite making the mark, you know. I don't want to let them go for peanuts. Really, the price I put in there is the minimum that I was going to be prepared to let them go for. It wasn't, you know, they weren't cheap bits of kit to buy way back when, so I'm not going to just let them go because I'm, you know, desperate for a little bit of cash. You know, I'd rather hang on to them or use them. So they haven't sold, so therefore they are kind of too expensive really to be just left in a shoebox sitting in the cupboard. So they're going to go back on the bike. And the other reason is I haven't put a video up for ages. Just life getting in the way. So I've got a few hours today before we're out on the bikes tonight, and I figured now's as good a time as any to put a little video up. So laugh among yourselves at my bar swaps. Hopefully it might help someone who's looking at putting clip-ons on, and yeah, we'll just crack on with it. So I guess first things first, the clip-ons that I'm using are the LSL Sport Match clip-ons, and they're like a one-piece clamp here. If they were a 2-piece clamp, it would make life a bit easier. I think like the Woodcraft clip-ons are, this clamping area is in 2 halves, so you just literally, you don't have to take off the top yoke to put the clip-ons on. You can just clamp them round, so that would be quicker. But these aren't they. These are one piece. Pretty easy to install. There's not much to them. They come with different. You can get different tubes. I think you can get a 1-inch tube that fits into this clip-on if you've got the T100 model. But yeah, it's just 2 pinch bolts here, and 2 here for the clip-on tube. This one's actually got the clip-on tubes on this side has got like a little groove in it, so the bolt kind of, when it pinches in, it almost locks the tube in place as well. So even if one went loose, you couldn't actually physically pull the clip-on tube out. So nice little bit of design. And yeah, it's not really that difficult. My preferred method of putting them on is to take off the top yoke. I mean, essentially you're trying to get some distance here to slide them over the fork tubes. If you went from pulling the forks down, I mean, you either got to elevate the bike up, take the brake caliper off, speedo cable come off, you know, wheel come off possibly, you know, drop it. Far too much faffing around. So it's easier just to take the top yoke off. That's only 3 bolts, so it's the pinch bolt there, same on to the side, and then the steering stem nut at the top here. Now I've got to take the handlebars off to get to the steering stem nut. On this particular model, there's not enough room to get a socket down on there, so they're going to have to come off. So that's going to be the first job. So what I'm going to do is just yeah, start taking off the mirrors. The grip's going to stay on because these are the grips I'll keep on these bars when I inevitably change back again. And yeah, I just undo this and let it all go. And then I'm going to actually take the bars and the risers off as one. So there's just the bolts underneath here, and then just lift those off. If you're looking at getting clip-ons, I mean, you shouldn't have to worry too much about your cables. It's not like you're putting a massive set of 8 hangers on, so the cables will reach. Just be aware you're going to have a lot more slack when they're dropped down to here, so you might have to reroute a few things. I've had to reroute I think I rerouted the throttle cable and adjust it slightly. To adjust it, it's pretty easy. Just wiggle up this boot off here. Come on. And then underneath here you've just got a lock nut and this big kind of nut here. And you just slacken those off and adjust them until you get the right amount of free play. So that's kind of easy. I think I might have to slacken off the banjo bolt here and just move the elbow, if I remember correctly, around a little bit just to get a neat routing for the brake line. But otherwise that stays the same. You just get a bit more excess brake line as it's pulled down. The only thing I had to change is the clutch cable. This is the stock Bonneville one that comes straight out, and I found it just fouled and wasn't, you know, it was a bit unwieldy and sticking far too far out when I had that when I had the clip-ons on. So I actually got the I think it's the early model Thruxton when they came with clip-ons, and it's got the elbow in it, and that just allows for a neater routing. And that's not a Triumph one, that's well, they Slinky cables or Slinky glide cables or something like that. So it's like 10 quid I think for a cable, so not expensive really, but just makes life a little bit easier. So yeah, it's just bearing in mind a few little things like that you might have to change the odd cable, but yeah, pretty easy. So as I've only got one set of hands, I'm going to just remove all the stuff off the handlebars and take the bars off, and there we go. So at the risk of teaching grandmothers to suck eggs and all that kind of stuff, bar and mirrors off, just an Allen bolt and the little slugs out of there. And then we've got the switch gear here, which has just got one Phillips head screw there, one on the other side which I've already removed. So that separates that into two halves and it comes off. Two Allen bolts there. And then I just let everything just hang free, baby. I will take the clutch cable off as well. Also, when it's hanging down, there's the clutch kind of switch, you know, which so when you start the bike, when you pull the clutch, you've got to pull the clutch in to start the bike. That's in there. I like to remove that rather than have the weight of the clutch lever hanging on the wiring, and that's really easy to do. It amuses some people how to do it. It's going to probably be more difficult to show you than it is to actually do it. But there it is, and you can see that little square. It's like that little square in the middle of the switch there. Just push a little screwdriver or something in there, and that clip, and that will pop out, and just pull it out. And that's really easy, because yeah, I've seen people sort of wiggling and trying to pull that all over the place to get it out. But it's literally that little square. It's like a little tab, pop it in, and that pops out. And same sort of process for the other side, and then that's your handlebar stuff removed. See if we can show you this clutch lever thing again, the switch. So removed off the bike, just where my thumb is, you can kind of see the whole square hole where the tab is. So I've being one-handed, I've had to already do this, but just pushing a little screwdriver or something just to push the tab down, and as you push the tab down, there you go, that just pulls out. There you go, see there, you can see that tab now, and that's it, that's how you do it. And then that's free, and it's not stressing on the wire. Just a little useful tip for you if you're interested. So with all the switch gear and everything removed, you know, so I've also taken the cables off the throttle sleeve as well, because I'm not going to be pulling that grip off here. I'll be using different grips, and I have a different throttle grip with a different grip on there for the clip-ons, so that's staying with that. And it's just 17mm bolts there, undo those and lift the handlebars off. So with the bolts removed, we're just going to lift up the handlebars, and you're left when you take all the gubbins off from the handlebars, you got these kind of little bushes that sit in the top yoke. It varies from model to model what sort of arrangements here. It's principally the same, but you're obviously left with those which are a little bit unsightly if you've got nothing on there. So I just put the rubbers back on. I've sprayed up my cups, if you like, and just get a nice long bolt, pop it down there and do it up, and that's perfectly fine for me as a kind of clean up of the top yoke. Does the job. So yeah, that's just my little thing that I do. And then we're on to undoing these bolts and the steering stem nut and lifting the top yoke off. So yeah, just slacking off the pinch bolts. They don't need to come all the way out, but just so they're, you know, loose. And then a 30mm socket on the top, and there we go. Slacking off your steering stem nut. Try and get the washer off. Can't get my nails under it. Alright, that's alright. Leave that for a second. And then you just kind of wiggle the top yoke off. See if I can set up. And then try and... it's a bit of a wiggle to get this off. Also been a little bit gentle because I don't want to knock the camera off the tank where it's balanced. There we go. And then we're just going to slide our clip-ons on. So I'm going to grab the clip-ons. Right, there we go. Making sure your clip-ons are the right way round. It's always a pain when you do it all up and you've put them on wrong. Slightly on. Get them on approximately for now. They're just slightly nipped up so I can angle them and decide where exactly the sort of angle I want them at. I like them kind of splayed out a little bit more than normal, probably almost like a drag bar rather than your kind of full on kind of cafe racer clip-on style, but that's just me. So right, I'm gonna give this a little whack on here with a rubber mallet just to seat it back in place. But I'm going to take the camera off the tank because that's going to go for a burden otherwise. Right, so when you got the old clip-ons angled where you want them, as you can see on mine, it is a bit more sort of splayed out, wider than you know, your average clip-on would be. Just the way I like it. It's time to tighten them up. So the bolts that are holding the tubes in are already tightened to spec. So you've just got the pinch bolts here, and as you can see, it's not the easiest angle to get into. So for this method, I have got old set of Allen keys, which I've butchered. Got the ball end, so I can go in at a bit of an angle, and then I just pop that in the end of my torque wrench and tighten them up that way. And it's only 10 Newton meters on each bolt. It's not an awful lot, but it is enough to make sure they don't move anywhere. So there we go. I will. Can I do this one-handed? Let's have a look. I'll give you the idea anyway. As you can see, there you go. One. And as they're pinch bolts, I'm just going to nip them up again, because when you pull one, it's probably going to be okay, and repeat for the other side. Okay, so with them done, now it's the old pinch bolts again. These are 27 on the pinch bolt, 27 Newton meters, and it's 90 on the steering stem. So yeah, is what it is. Just tighten those up when they're done, and you know it's all together and torqued down properly. And that's it then. There we go. All the furniture back on the bars. I've still opted for dropping the mirrors below. I think that looks a bit cleaner. It's weird, the old piss cup doesn't bother me as much when it's like this. It's very strange, but you can see what I meant about the angle of the clutch cable there. That just makes life a bit easier, and you've got a bit more of a excess cableage there. But I didn't actually have to move the brake line this time because I've dropped the headlight, so it's not kind of awkward against the headlight, which was nice. But that's about it. Slight adjustment on the throttle cable and a slightly different route past the other cables, just to get the free play where I wanted it and no binding. But yeah, once it's done, check everything works. Check you've put your clutch switch back in. If you've undone your the spade connectors on your brake switch. Check you've got, you know, your throttle's not sticking on or getting stuck when you turn on full lock either way. But that's essentially it. That's the clip-ons on. So and all in all, how long does this take me? I mean, as you know, I'm pretty practiced at it now, but you know, taking my time and filming it, it's probably been about an hour. Just taking it slowly, a couple of roll-up breaks. So it's yeah, it's not a massive job by any stretch of the imagination. But of course, with clip-ons on now, it means rear sets next. I'll have a look at how long this video's been and decide whether or not a rear set install video is going to be separate or whether this will all be as one. But yeah, pretty much it. The only thing I might change is I've got the stock Bonneville grips on there, just because they're already open-ended. As I mentioned, I'm going out in a few hours, so I've just put those straight on. But I have also got these grips, which are kind of quite cool. I quite like those, so I might put those on, but then I'll have to do my old grip cutting end malarkey for those bad boys as well. But I don't think I'm going to have time today because I want to get the rear sets on as well. So there we go. So we'll see. So either we're onto the rear sets now, or this will be the end of the video. So goodbye if it's the end, or stay tuned if it's the rear sets. Right then, rear sets. So here are the rear sets. These are Sato Racing rear sets for the Bonneville. Again, all alloy construction, very nice, very shiny, horribly expensive, but there we go. Reminds me of days when I had a bit more cash than I do now. But all you need really to change the rear sets are a set of Allen keys. This is off the top of my head. If I've forgotten anything, I'll mention it later. But yeah, set of Allen keys, 10mm spanner, 13mm, that might be a 12mm, not sure, we'll have a look in a minute. A little breaker bar just in case there's a couple of heavy bolts, and a 10p piece, my preferred tool of choice for removing the side panels on a Bonneville. And yeah, the rear sets, really simple to put on. I mean, it probably looks a lot more complex than it really actually is. They come pretty much assembled from Sato. You've got 3 bolts here with spacers. I've taped the ends there so the spacers stay in the right places because they're all different sized. They do come with quite comprehensive instructions, so it's quite easy to work out. And then you've got your foot pegs. They're fully adjustable, which basically means you can either have your peg up high here or drop it a bit lower, which is where I prefer to have it. You've got scope for adjusting the height of your gear pedal or your brake pedal. Yeah, it's probably going to be easier just to show you what to do. We'll start with the gear side, but yeah, we'll start with this side. So I'm just going to pop the peg on there on the lower setting, my preferred setting, and they're ready to bolt on, and then we'll go over to the bike and get that ready to mount these onto. Yeah, that makes sense. Right then, so onto the gear side. This is the easiest side to do, or the less involved side to do. All we need to do is just undo the Allen bolt here, the pinch bolt, remove the gear selector. Then we're going to leave this mounting plate here, stays on, but the peg comes off, and basically these two bolts, and that bolt lock goes through where that peg goes through, and those two bolts go in there instead of those. So all we're doing is leaving this plate on, removing this peg, removing these bolts, and removing that, and then we put the whole assembly on and tighten it all back up again. Okay, so the gear selector's off. I did mention I did get one wrong. It's not a 13mm, it's a 12mm for the nut that's behind here. It's probably a bit dark there actually for you, but yeah, there's the nut behind there. We'll retain the nut because that's going to bolt onto the end of there, and this is where these sort of like little ratchet spanners come in real handy, because as you can see, it's a real tight fit behind there, so it just makes life a little bit easier. And there we go, slacken that off. Right, put this down again to undo that, and those two bolts. So there we go. Right, we're ready to install. So we've got the holes there and there, and you can see the little spacers. They'll just fit in there and there, just to get the correct, what they've engineered to be the correct kind of distance out. I've put a little dab of thread lock on the end of the threads just because, well, they're footrests, and I'd rather they didn't fall off. So I'm going to try and attempt to pop all this on with one hand. There we go. So that just fits like that. Right, now I'm going to have to put this down to tighten them up. There we go, easy peasy, all done. I'm not sure what the torque settings are, but as I say, I've got a drop of thread lock on there, and there's got at least 4 or 5 threads through on each side, so that's pretty beef and solid on there. And then just the rod here to your desired height for your gear selector, and that's the gear side done. Wonderful. Right, this side, so it's pretty much the same principle. This area, this plate here is going to be staying where it is, but we're going to take those bolts out and replace them with the longer ones for the rear set. This peg's coming off, but again we're going to retain this nut here to hold the rear set on. This brake lever's coming off. It's a different sort of brake setup. The difference is on this, I'm going to have to undo the pinch bolt here. If you've got the standard sprocket cover and you haven't got a big chopped out one, you haven't chopped yours down like I have, you'll probably have to take the sprocket cover off to get to this nut. Just slacken that pinch nut off, and this whole assembly is going to slide off to enable you to get the brake lever off. And then we need our 10p to undo the nut here, the screw here, because the other extra bit of kit we need is we're going to slightly relocate the mounting for the brake bit here. Let's take that off. And yeah, because this is going to come off as well. So where the reservoir and the switch is, that's going to move slightly because it's going to be at a slightly different angle for the rear set. But let's start by getting the bits off that are coming off, and we'll go from there. Okay, so these two are coming off. Again, put them somewhere safe. Right, so those two are off, those two are off, the peg's removed, and that one's slackened off. So now this whole assembly slides off and it's just free now. Now on the back here, because this is the only way you can really get to the brake lever, we'll need an Allen key to remove this screw here, because all that's going. Slide off this clip here, push the pin out, and unscrew the brake lever from here, so we can remove all that. Right, so there we go. So that's the just the mounting bracket left. So you can see that's where the rear brake lever was bolted onto. So that's come off. Don't lose your spring either, in case you want to reinstall. That was on there, which had the little pin through there, which goes through there. Now I'm going to remount all this back on here, so when I put it away in the box I ain't going to lose anything. So we're left with this just hanging, that with nothing bolted on, and that. So we're going to take this, which is the relocation bracket for this, and that bolts, those two bolts bolt in where it used to bolt in, and these two bolts will reposition that up, and then that's your threaded bolt for or the threaded bit for your side panel to go on. So I'll put that on now. Guys, saw this up and down with the camera, but hopefully you're getting the gist of it. Okay, so you see that's there now. So rather than this being mounted where that was, it's now going to push round and mount like that, and then you can see the push rod's going to be sticking out at a completely different angle now to allow for the rear set. So get the bolts in that. Right, so with that all bolted up, that's sticking out at that angle, that bracket loosely back on, same principle as before. Try and get this, and try and do this without all the spacers falling out with one hand. There we go. Right, should be quite easy, but trying to hold the camera at the same time is a pain. There we are, and then that will sit on like that. I will have to put the camera down again to do these up, but you get the gist. Final bit, just screw the end of the rod into there, adjust how high you want it, you know, for where you want your lever to, sort of the angle you want your lever to sit at. Tighten that up. I've left both lock nuts on there more for not really any safety reason, other than I won't lose it then if I should change back. On this you've got two holes there to adjust the level there, and then the toe peg you've got a couple of drilled holes here, so you can adjust how far it is depending how big your feet are. But once you've got that set, put your side panel back on. There you go. You have now installed clip-ons and rear sets onto your Triumph Bonneville. So there endeth the lesson. Yeah, not the greatest how-to. I'm not really a how-to kind of a person, but hopefully illustrated the whole process a little bit if you're looking at doing something like that. And yeah, that's about it. So sorry for the length of time between videos, and yeah, I'll get my arse into gear and get a bit more of the SR250 done. So until next time, see you then.